Guys, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my podcast of inspiring stories. How is everyone? I hope you are all doing well and taking good care of yourselves. I've heard that a lot of places are again in extreme lockdowns. So I hope you're all taking care of yourselves and reaching out if you are experiencing a lot of anxiety, a lot of loneliness, a lot of depression. Guys, remember before we hop in and bring my guest for today, it is okay to ask for help. It is absolutely okay. It does not make you weak. Uh, in fact, it makes you very courageous to stand up for yourself. So, hey, reach out. Like always, today I have somebody who's coming forward and she's going to share her story and she's going to add value to our conversation. She's going to tell us how she survived through her toxic relationships. Let me bring her in and we will start our conversation from there. Okay, I don't see her. Just give me a second. Okay, let's send her there. Send her the invite and I will just wait for her to join us and we will bring her live and we will hear her story. It is amazing when people reach out and say they want to share their story, they want to speak, they're tired of living in silence. Guys, when you break your silence, not only do you heal, but you help others around you heal as well. It's an amazing energy that surrounds you and everybody around you. So always remember that it is okay to break the cycle. It is okay to speak your truth. I don't know why she is not coming live. I do know that she said she doesn't know how this works. Okay. Let's do that again. Send her the request. Just give us a few more minutes. Let's see if she did get that and would come live. Trying to bring her on. Interesting. Okay, let's see. Sorry guys, for some people it just takes a little while before they get the hang of it. A lot of people oh, there she is, finally in the house. Sometimes it just takes a while for people to, hey, there she sent the request. There we go, we bring. Waiting to connect, and it's connecting, and I think she's there. Hello.
Oh, hello. I can't seem to get you. There we are. Oh,
Hi.
no. I disconnected.
You're right here.
Hopefully I can stay connected. I have a really old phone. I'm like, I have to get a new phone immediately. If we disconnect, we'll have to do it again.
That's That's all right. That's all right. We just reconnect ourselves. That's fine. How are you today?
I am fantastic. And how are you?
I am doing wonderful. So before we dive in and speak about your story, let's have a little bit of introduction about your name, where you're from, and then we just dive in.
Okay, so I am Heather Giles, and I am originally from a small town in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. And I now live in a small town a little bit north from there in Ontario, Canada. It is morning here, so I think I might have said good morning.
Yes, you did.
If you can get out and get the sunshine, it is beautiful and makes you feel so much better. So a little bit of background. My situation was from 22 years ago when I got out. And it started when I was 16, ended when I was 33. And then I had a hiatus where I, got to know myself. I had a 9-year-old child when I separated. And I went from the frying pan into the fire because I was more in emotional abuse when I was in the first situation. And then I went to a more physical abuse with the second situation.
Okay, now let me stop you there. Let's just talk about the first marriage or the first relationship. Let's talk about how you met the person and what happened in that journey of yours.
Okay, so I was very young. I was 16 when we met, and you don't see what you're getting into when you're young. You're very much, especially as a teenager, you're very much looking for a connection, somebody that cares about you. Like you're a teenager, so of course your parents don't care about you. And my parents worked together.
Okay.
So I didn't really have a situation to look at other than, going over to friends' houses, seeing what their interaction was. And I didn't really know, like it sounds very naive, but I didn't really know what was involved in a relationship. You do have to work at a relationship regardless of what you're in. And everybody, like now that I'm older, everybody comes with baggage. But back then, I had a plan. I was going to be a singer, and I didn't have, grandeur expectations. I wanted to do small bars so that, I could still have a life and,
right.
And make an income out of, and I love to sing.
Right.
And we did have an experience where we were in a bar. They came up, they were wowed. All I did was some backup for the band that was there. They were wowed. They said, you're fantastic. Well, my significant other said, you can't sing. They just tell you that. They're just trying to be nice to you. And that was a start. But all the red flags you don't see.
Absolutely, yeah. Nobody sees those.
You don't see any red flags. You don't see that gifts. There was lots of stuff given to me at the start. We socialized a lot. There was all sorts of things, and I was very dead set against certain things in my life. My ethics went out the window. It was whatever he wanted. We were engaged for 5 years. I didn't see anything. Like at one point, he got really drunk and was choking me. His parents saved me, took a cab home. That was it. I wasn't seeing him anymore, and he convinced me that it was just that type of alcohol. He'd never do it again. And it becomes a cycle. They'll never do it again. And I started to say to people, well, I think deep down inside, he really loves me, and it's sad for him. It turns out he's bipolar. So it is hard because there's a lot of awareness of mental illness now. And when you've been in a situation where you've been abused and mental illness is involved, it's hard to have that sympathy for the person with the mental illness when you've been the brunt of it.
When you're the victim,
uh,
it's hard. It's hard. You
and
have to detach yourself first
there
to
was no
understand.
help.
Mm.
Like when I about 3 months. So we were engaged for 5 years, then we got married, and 3 months into my marriage, I actually stuffed shopping bags full of my stuff. So I had about 10 like grocery shopping bags at the door, and I was like, I'm leaving you. And he said, if you're with me, I'm behind you 100%. You walk out that door and I'll stalk and kill you. And it was like, okay, we're going to do what you want. And from then it was just a downward spiral. And I had a child. I really wanted to have a baby. It was like and I was young, like I was only 23 when I got pregnant. And I got ill. In the middle of my pregnancy, things started happening. I walked around while I was in that situation saying, I'm immune to this. I'm immune to this. Well, what ended up happening was my immune system went awry and started attacking my body. So you do have to be careful what you say to yourself.
Yes,
you got to look in the mirror and know that you're worth it.
Yes.
Like if I could look back now and give any of you advice, you're worth it. Get out.
Yes.
Okay. I ended up getting put on disability. It didn't come for about 8 months. In that 8 months, I was told how useless and worthless I was, that he was stuck with a GIMP wife, and he didn't know how he could get rid of me, basically.
And it's really interesting. And why don't you just step back where you said that you didn't see the red flags. Actually, I think we do see the red flags even then. The only difference is that at that point, we just try to start reasoning with ourselves. No, it's gonna get better, but I love him, but he loves me. Relationships require a compromise. It's gonna get better. So I don't think ever that we're not aware of the red flags. We're always aware. It's just that we don't want to really face them. So even when I look back, and when I've seen with my clients also, they always knew there were red flags, but it was just that there was this reasoning they had around that red flag, which made the red flag not that important at that time, And you're absolutely right. I think it's so much of social conditioning and environmental conditioning, where, at least for me, I can say that we've been brought up learning and listening to this, that marriage is not easy. You have to work on marriage. You have to compromise. If one person is not going to compromise, if you both become like this in this ego cycle, then the marriage, you can never be with anybody. So much of fear has been created around marriage before you even get into it, that even in your courting period, you're just giving the other person so many excuses, because you are just so worried that maybe what if this doesn't work, the next one is not going to work, because if I do not compromise, then there's something wrong with me.
Well, so and he was always telling me it was me.
Yes.
It was me, and I was causing it. And I'd say to him, like, sometimes I'd be in bed asleep, and he would suddenly wake me up screaming, throwing all our clothes out. He couldn't take it anymore, waking my daughter up, dog barking, middle of the night. I'm like, and I minimized everything. Like, it was like tucking my daughter back into bed, saying to her, it's okay, Daddy's just a little upset right now, and it'll be okay. And sending her off to school the next day. It very much affected my daughter. Right.
Absolutely.
And I didn't, and you're saying I must have seen, but I have a tape. It's like my daughter had one of those little kid tapes.
Okay.
And in the background is him berating me. And, and like now I actually, like, it was years later, maybe about 2 years ago, she said, oh, can I have that tape where I'm singing? And I said, well, no, I don't think so. I said, I'll see if I can like take it out. Like, I wanted the part of her being 3 years old singing, but I didn't want the part of me in the background arguing with him. Right. And it was so like, just blatant, like, you're stupid, you can't do anything, like, and screaming, like, because this is being picked up by her tape recorder. It's like, you know, when you hear it later, like I cried. I was like, why didn't I just grab my daughter's arm and run? You know, and you don't. Like I watched Oprah. Oprah used to have people on that were abused. And I'd watch to try and figure out, how could I get out of this? What should I do? And everything. And then one day Oprah came on and she said, you know what? I'm not putting these people on anymore because you people don't get out. And I was like, no, I need those people. Right? Well, what ended up happening with me, one, we did go to counseling, just so you know. It wasn't, you know, your typical, the counselor said, okay, you know, I think I've heard enough. And next week, I just need to see Heather by herself. Right? So we drove home and he said, see, told you it was you. It's all you. She just needs to see you because you're messed up. My parents are together. Your parents are apart. It's your fault. Right? So I went back the next week and she said, okay, listen, he is abusive and you've got to get out right now. And if you want, from this office, we will arrange everything. You know, and I was like, oh no, I can't do that. Because by that point, it was whatever he wanted. When I got out, I was an absolute zero. He said, if you go to a women's shelter, because he kicked us out. I ended up, what happened was a friend was splitting up with their wife. We'd been friends for years, 18 years. And he started coming over and my husband wasn't, you know, talking to him or helping him or anything. And so I ended up talking to him. Well, he hugged me goodbye one day and I'm not kidding you. Like this white light came over and I thought, oh my God. And it was like that just, I'm alive. What am I doing? Like, I mean, I was praying every day. He would leave for work. Like some days he gave me an hour. I have a disability, like because of, like you can see in my hands and stuff. He'd give me an hour, go grocery shopping, gas up the truck, get his cigarettes, get back, right? And if I was like 2 minutes late, he would throw all the groceries all over the ground and I would have to like pick them up after. And he'd tell me how useless I was and that I might have made him late for work and, you know, everything. And he'd leave for work. This was at noon because he worked an afternoon shift. Okay. I had to stay up for him to come home at night. So 12:30, he got home around, and my daughter had to be up and out at 7. I had to get her up and get her out to the bus stop for 7:30. 7:30, I maybe 7:45. But anyway, you know, like I had a short amount of time. Also, get in a warm meal so that at 11 o'clock he ate a warm meal before he left, right? So like you'd make a roast, get her off to school, and I'd be pretty tired, right? Like with what I have to take naps and stuff. So I'd be pretty tired, and he would expect me to wait for him at night. And I was also sitting on a 120-acre farm by myself. So when he was at work and my daughter would go to bed, sometimes I'd phone a friend at night. If he phoned on a break from work, he would leave me a message and it's pretty graphic. You know, there was a lot of swearing and stuff, so I won't probably say that. But he threatened that he was going to come home and kill me because I was on the phone and I should be waiting for him to call. Right? So I actually phoned the police. I said, like, I don't, because he said, you ever phone the police on me and you won't get up again. Right? Like, I mean, there were so many threats. And I even, like, some people could say, well, he threatened you all the time, but because he physically, like at one point I stood in front of him and said, punch me in the face because your words are killing me. Like he would leave for work and I would walk my dog out into the field and pray that, like, you know, is this what you want for my life? Like I have a very strong connection to God, you know, but I feel if you don't have a strong connection to God, at least believe in a higher power. You have a connection to a power higher than yourself, okay? And it is important to remember that connection because he literally made me a zero. And even, I think it was 5 years after I left, I was doing dishes one day and one of his songs, like he listened to very heavy music, very loud sometimes, and one of them was called Lie, Cheat, Steal, right? And I used to say to him, like, we've got a child. Like, I don't want my daughter growing up with lie, cheat, steal being like embedded into her head. Right. And I was doing the dishes one day and it came into my head and I was like, ew, nice music now. Like, but yeah, so I did end up coming back into singing. I do funerals and weddings and a lot of like church music and stuff. And I have some stuff on YouTube and I've done some stuff on Facebook and stuff.
Great.
Uh, and I like everybody always says like, wow, it moves my soul, when you sing. But back then it was like, and even in the end, just prior to him kicking me out, he said, I can't even stand your voice. And I said, there's a lot of things I can change, but my voice isn't one of them. Like my voice will always be my voice. And I will have a voice and I will stand up. And if you can get out, get out. I had $700 to my name a month. Okay. And even when he was kicking me out, he goes, you'll never make it. You'll never make it on your own. And like, it really stays in your head. Eh? And then
absolutely.
He said he'd kill me if I went to a shelter. Emergency. My mother said that I could come home just for a short period until I found something. So my daughter and I went there. My mom since passed, but it was nice that I had that to go to then. When I went in, I was a basket case. I was a sniveling, crying. I was 33 years old. I had a 9-year-old depending on me. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was on disability. I had $700. How was I going to get anywhere? My mom grabs me by the shoulders and she goes, you know what? You're an adult and you've got a child depending on you. Now buck up. And it was hard, because my mother never did. My dad left. My mom basically had a nervous breakdown and spent the rest of her life dwelling on the fact that, he cheated and gone off with somebody. Right. And so it was like in your mind, you're thinking, well, you're one to talk. And then the weird part, when you first leave, you have to find yourself. You have to find who you are. Yeah. I don't know if you had that, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
That makes much sense. Yeah.
So I was 33, but before him, I was 16. So suddenly I'm feeling like this teenager that has all this responsibilities laid on me, and so I'm in the bathroom mirror and I'm going, okay, so like now your mom's right. You got to buck up, you got to find yourself. You got to do this. You're going to do this, cause I was having anxiety attacks and everything. My daughter, 9 years old, stands beside me and she goes, you know what, Mom? Sometimes you got to go backwards in order to go forwards and move on. And I was like, where did you come from? It was amazing. She's my daughter is a pretty tough cookie. But
I can see that.
Yeah. Like even, like with my disability, a lot of people put me down, like when she was really young, and a lot of anger within her from things people would say. Like I'd be walking with her and they go, why did that woman even have a child? And it was just like, it was terrible. And, people come up to me and they'd be like, what happened to you? Do you have polio? Were you in a car accident? And stuff like this. And it's just like I'd cry. Because, I didn't know where this was going to go and how I was going to be or anything. Right. So, yeah. It's a journey. Life's a journey.
You've been through so much, and me being on this side, the listening side, it's amazing to have survivors like yourself come on board and share their story, because it shows so much of resilience a person has within themselves, and it's mind-boggling because some people might not understand, and they're right now getting frustrated at why she went through that, but they don't really understand how this whole thing works. That when it's like the generational curse, I call it, that you were brought up in an environment, and from a very young age your mind got conditioned to believe certain things, and you carried on those values without even knowing them, that they were inside of you, right? And then for you, it is that your disability was showing outwardly. For a lot of us, our disabilities within ourselves, these are our insecurities, feeling of worthlessness, or feeling that we're not enough in some ways.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
yeah.
should state my mom had a cognitive problem that wasn't addressed. And when you get older, it becomes a cognitive degeneration.
Okay.
So growing up, outwardly, everybody thought my mother adored me. But there was a lot of like emotional things there. Like when I was 12, my mother told me she wished she hadn't had me. And I'm telling you, that stays. That stays. And I think that's where, and even I love you. Neither of my parents said I love you. If you said I love you to them, they'd say thank you. Always tell your children you love them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Both of my children were very much planned. And what's funny is my son is very logical. So he's gone over, you know, the ins and outs of like, you know, what transpired in that relationship, because it gives him a lot of insight into his sister too. Like, you know, she has anger issues. And so, you know, then that way he can see, you know, where that went. But he looks at me the one day and he goes, you know, okay, so let's get this straight. You were 16 and you had a plan of what you wanted to do. And this guy comes along and he says, oh, no, you can't sing and you can't do that. And you listen to him. He goes, why? And it's like, you're just like blown away. Like, why? Yeah, why did I listen to him? What triggered that, you know, what made me think that was the way to go? Now, it could have been something in my mind that, you know, I needed to have that love, right? I needed to have that connection, that person with me. And I also, like, I have a rod in my back. When I was 14, I had scoliosis and I had to get a rod put in my back. So it might have been a subconscious, like I'm deformed and nobody could ever love me. And he reaffirmed that. Like once I became disabled, he said, you know, oh, great. Now I can't get rid of you. Nobody'd want you.
Not
you know,
just
and
that, I think it goes more deeper than that. I think it goes to the point where you just said that your mom said, I wish I never had you. And you were 12 at that time. That kind of sends a really direct message to your subconscious mind, telling you that you're nothing.
That the body should shut down and you shouldn't be anymore.
You're not worth living. You shouldn't be here. And you being here doesn't add any value to us or this world or whatever. So your subconscious mind had already accepted the fact that, you know, whatever. And that is why when this person came up to you and said it to you, it went in because it was already there in the subconscious mind. It just triggered that emotion, and you believe that more strongly than your career or your singing, even though you knew that you were phenomenal in that. And it when you tell your story, it shows at every point when you look back and you're like you just said, why did I put up with that? You know, because at that time you were not aware of your worth. You thought you were worthless at that time.
Definitely.
That's why you were taken for that, right? So that is why
it's very, very important to affirm yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, if you're having trouble with it, go on YouTube. There's free things. Plug in. Affirm yourself. Yes. Like that's first and foremost. You matter. The book I'm writing is on the miracles I've received. Okay. You know, who knows how long I'll take to get it done, but I am writing it. And my whole premise is, if I can show one person and save one person, then it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's the same as why I'm talking with you today. If one person says, you know what, I really have, like, because actually I just found out from my daughter, she has all along in her, my daughter's 31 now, just so you know, all along in her relationships, she's kept a little hidden money just in case something went wrong and she had to get out. Right. Because I never had that. Right. And that's what, like, they always tell you, tuck away. I thought, God, if I ever tuck away money and he finds it, I'm in so much shit. Right. Like, that was, and how he would clean out our bank accounts on a moment's notice. I'd have a whole bunch of bills ready to pay, and suddenly there was no money. Like, it was just, when I look back, it was insanity. And also too, when I did get out, there was a lot, like, it wasn't an easy time. There was, his dad worked for a lawyer firm. So he threatened that he'd sue me for sole custody, take our daughter. That was like from the start. Like, once I had her, that was his property, right? She was his property, and I was not taking her, right? So then, and that's how, when she was 9, I finally got him to the point. He said, you can right in front of her. He said, you can take the kid, but you're not taking the dog. Because he figured that the dog was holding me. And our prior dog had passed away, and we'd gotten another one. And I thought, you know what, the other dog really did hold me, right? And so I said, fine. Like, it affected me. I didn't really want to leave our dog, right? But I knew that he was letting me take her. But we have weird laws here. Like, if you leave the matrimonial home, like, so if I leave and take her, he can actually, like, put out an Amber Alert, charge me, and get her back, because it's the matrimonial home and we were married, right?
Okay.
So when he kicked me out and I went to my mom's, I didn't know that you can't knock on the shelter door. And I walked up and knocked on the shelter door, and they were like, they didn't answer, and I kept knocking, right? And I'm looking around because he said, if you go to a shelter, I'll kill you. And I didn't know if he was following me, right? She opens the door, and she's got this chain on, and she goes, can I help you? And I was like, I need some help. And I've left my situation. I'm not allowed to come here and stay, but I need to talk to you and everything. And when I went in and talked to her, she's going, okay, what do you want? And I go, I don't know, because I'm not sure what he wants. And so she's going, okay, let's start again. You're out. You're out. He doesn't matter anymore. What he wants doesn't matter. And you have to get that through your head. That's very important. If you're listening, you're in a situation and you want to get out, get it through your head that you matter, okay? And what he wants doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes. And I reaffirm that.
Like, I'm not talking about just separating in a regular relationship. We're talking about severe emotional abuse for years, right? My specialist that I went to at the time said that I was like a Holocaust survivor. That's how bad it was. Like, we're talking, they're like, to rehash sends back all the memories, but it's like, we had a really low bed. I couldn't get off the bed, right? So he would laugh at me that I couldn't get off the bed and tease me and say, you're going to piss yourself, aren't you? You're going to piss yourself. You can't get off the bed. You're going to piss yourself right there. Make my daughter laugh too. Mom's stuck upstairs. Keep coming by. Like, just teasing me. And I was like, help me. No help. Like, it's such mental turmoil. Like,
yes.
When I talk about, like, our other dog that we had, there was a lot of like, sexual abuse. Like, you're my wife, you'll do this then, you'll do that then, So we'd be sitting, and I'd be doing something over in a corner, and he's watching TV. And if he just moved his zipper, my dog would come running to save me. Right? And it was just amazing. It sound asleep upstairs on the bed, and the dog would know that he was bugging me, and he'd come. Like, a lot of times he's chasing me around, the dog's between us. Like, there was food thrown, and I have had every bit of food thrown at me. One time I was driving down the road. He was mad at me because I wouldn't look at him while he was speaking. And I said, I can't. I'm driving down the road. If you want, I'll pull over. Then I can give you my full attention and look at you. But I'm driving down the road. So he took his drink and threw it out the front of the car, like across the front. But then he went to he had a baked potato. They used to do baked potatoes at Wendy's. I don't know if they still do. But anyway, and threw it in my lap, a hot baked potato, right? Potato is everywhere. And I'm driving 80 down a road, right? While all this is going on, and broke my rear view mirror and the windshield and everything. And I was just like, I can't look at you. Like, it was just the incredible things. A taco across the table from me. He took like the hard shell taco with everything, with sour cream, the whole works, right dead in my face. Not even 2 feet away, because it was across the table. Like, and you're just like, and laugh. That's really funny. It's really funny to like throw hot food at people and
Right. I really want to stop here and wanted to ask you that when these things were being done to you, and if you remember, of course, in those moments, what were you feeling? Like, were you feeling, or were you asking yourself, why am I going through this? Or were you saying,
you're
yes, I
trying
deserve
to
this?
you're trying to, like, because of my mom having a cognitive problem, I became a caregiver,
Mm.
right? So, like,
That's what I
you
was
were
trying to lead
already
to.
like, from 10 years old. At 10 years old, I was deciding what bills should be paid, and like giving her counseling kind of thing. And even like when we started off in this little cycle of abuse going on, that I didn't realize I was in a cycle. I went to the library and I'd read up on, how can I deal with this, right? So like the books in the library said, like, things to say to them. And let me tell you, like, they were wrong. Like, my sister said to me the one time, I should say, what's the point? Well, you should never say, what's the point? He threw food at me. Everything was broken. Like, and taunting. There's a lot of,
Yeah, I hate
do you
that.
like this? Yeah. Do you like this? Is this something you like? And then break it, and you're begging, like, please, like, not that the stuff really matters, but there's some sentimental things that I had, that it was like, no, please, so and so gave that to me on my 10th birthday, and I really want to keep it, like
Right,
it's
right,
not that
yeah.
it really mattered, but and then, like, fights when we lived in an apartment, fights between the neighbors and him, and like the neighbors meeting me in the hall going, he's been playing his music for like 2 hours, where have you been, like, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll go in and ask him to turn it down. And then the one fight he got in with one of my neighbors that I was associated with, and she said, we know what you're doing to her, we can hear through the walls, right? And I thought, like I'm in my head going, shut up,
Yeah, right.
you're gonna get me killed, like, because and my mom, because of the way she was, gave me an anticipation complex. Like, it would be like, go to your room, get your pants down, I'm coming in with the belt. At the time people got the belt, right?
Right.
But the images, like, I have a very strong image in my mind. When you tell me a story, it's completely graphic in my mind, right?
I'm like that
so
too.
Yeah. So the worst part was, with her doing that, by the time she got into me, I'd be hysterical. I'd have visions like
already.
I was bleeding, I was going to be dead on the bed. I wasn't making it out of this, and I had people say to me, well, did you not realize she wasn't going to do it? Because she'd go, all right, but next time, right? So that then, in turn, with him threatening me, when you've got somebody like, and I can't make a fist, but like, he's strong and he'd have his arm like this and he's like looking like he's going to punch you and screaming in your face or whatever. Like, my worst part is when I'm nervous, I laugh. So you are the best actor ever. Like, you probably were too. You become an actress. Like, because actually, when I got out, I looked at my friend. I go, I should get an Oscar for this, because like, it's true. Like, one time, I couldn't help it. I started laughing because he was turning red and he was jumping up and down on our farmhouse kitchen floor, and I thought he was going to go through the floor, and all I wanted to do was go, Rumpelstiltskin, 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 right, like this. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if it magically happened? But it's not going to happen. And if you smirk whatsoever, then it's worse, right? Because you're laughing at them. And recently, my girlfriend said to me, like, my friend, said to me, yeah, like nothing wrong with that, but my son told me that when I say girlfriend, then people think that I am that way. Anyway, so she said to me, hurting people hurt people. And it's so true, right? They have something within them that is causing this to happen. And so then I read every psychological book and figure, like, what do I have to do? Become a psychology major so I can help him? And I would get him to the point, like sometimes, he'd break down and he'd be like, I don't know what's wrong with me and I need help and everything. And I'd be like, okay, tomorrow we're going to get you some medication. We'll get you to the doctor. And this is why I spent so many years in it, right? Because I felt that when I made my marriage vow, we were joined. We were united. I was a part of this, right? And then the next day, I'd say, okay, I'm going to call the doctor today so you could get some medication and go, get some help. And he'd be like, I don't have a problem. This is your problem. Because he'd switched overnight, right? And we just went, and I went to his family, and it was like, no, you're the one. You push his buttons. You're doing this to him. He's not like this.
Oh, the flying monkeys then come in.
Pardon?
We call it the flying monkeys.
Yeah.
Where they side the abuser basically.
Yeah.
And make you like you're the crazy one there.
Yeah. Now his mother, years later, once his dad passed, she was allowed to talk to me because once we split up, his dad would not let her speak to me. She said, I've known her since she was a kid. She was 16 when she started going out with him, and now she's 33, and I've known her for all these years, 17 years. You expect me not to talk to her? He said, she's the enemy. I couldn't see, like, the nieces and nephews on that side. Didn't see them, everything. And the one I babysat when he was really little, it was a little difficult to take, right? But I thought, okay, they're going to take his side, right? Well, years later, she talked to me and she said that he had at one point sought help. And she goes, he did so much better when he was seeing someone and he was on the medication. Right? Which then kind of made me a little angry because I was like, thanks. Now you finally admit,
that something was wrong.
And he still feels that everything within the relationship, is all my fault, which I just let him. We call it playing the game, right? He self-medicates with marijuana and doesn't take proper medication or seek help or anything. I have since been certified as an NLP. I'm certified in timeline therapy and all these things. Not that I could help him or would consider it, but
right.
It was a catalyst into a lot of mental health things that I can do for others, right? As well as being empowering for people out there. I'm not a rich woman. It wasn't like I left and there's a lot, but there's a lot that I did get that I have never imagined. Now I own a house, I have a car, and I have a car that's not falling apart. knock on wood.
Knock on wood, right.
But there were times where at one point my daughter broke her leg. We had no car. We were in a 1-bedroom apartment. I had shingles in my eye and up my head. It was just, what is happening here? Now, that said, getting out, you'll still have problems in life. Life always has problems. Remember, you'll have a problem, but look at it this way. You want your pile of problems. You don't want somebody else's pile, because somebody else can tell you what's going on in their situation, and you think, ooh, thank God I'm only dealing with this, right? And what happened, so I had $700 a month to my name when I got out, and I had friends that I hadn't seen in years come back. Okay? They came back. They helped me. Strangers helped immensely. right? There was a lot of still in my head. I kept hearing him say, "You'll never do it." So I had a lot of like, I'd wake up in the night, I had to go to the window, open the window, having an anxiety attack because I was really worried about my daughter and what was going to transpire with her. And, like she looks back
Your
on it
own
and she's
trauma,
like,
you had to overcome that, heal through that
well,
process.
and I have PTSD that I have worked on,
Okay.
and I do, if there's an emergency situation that occurs, which around here we actually have had some emergency situations,
Okay.
I tend to, like I start heavy breathing and then I have to be like, it's not me. This is not happening to me. I'm okay. And like, I literally walk around, I'm okay. Everything's working out for me. Everything's working out for me, because, and it sounds silly, but you have to encourage yourself.
For me, I don't know for the viewers, but for me, it doesn't sound silly because I worked on myself as well. And I think that self-talk is so important. It boosts you so much. And I tell myself all the time, even on little wins, I tell myself, well done, Marish, well done. I'm so proud of you. Even if I'm on diet and one day went great, I say, well done. And I have like a vision board where I put these marks and I put it. So there is a lot of encouragement around me. I am my own supporter, and that kind of gives you that emotional independency where you're not just sitting around and fleeing or you're sulking because nobody's appreciating you for the hard work you're doing. Now I know, and I'm at a place where I don't need anybody to do that. I can see what I'm doing, I can feel it, and I see it every day with my growth, with how it's all around me. So when you're saying that, makes so much sense. And I do the same when I have something's happening, I'm feeling anxious, and I have to like really ground myself and say, okay, this is not you. And I just try to just focus on my breathing, and I just try to change the, like, if I'm sitting, I would stand. If I'm standing, I'll sit, I'll drink water, I talk to my kids. I just change the whole environment around that thoughts, and it goes away. So what you're saying makes so much sense, and it relates. So anybody who's listening right now, guys, you can try this. We're two women here assuring you that this works. Whenever we have an anxiety attack, remember that it's just a trigger of thought. It's not really happening. So you just need to take control over that thought. That's it. Just control and say, okay, this is not real. Go touch a flower if you have in your inside of your home. Go touch a plant, something real, and you just, your anxiety is going to come down. I've never taken any medication. Well, of course, when I had severe attacks, I did, but it's been so long. I don't take medication because I know that it's just a thought, and I can change it whenever I want to. So and I know for people who are suffering might say, oh well, it's easy for you. It's never easy when you're having an anxiety. Trust me, it's never easy. I ended up in a hospital because it led to a panic attack. So it's never easy. You just have to train yourself. We all know that anxiety is a triggered thought, a triggered trauma emotion, and it's not something that's really actually happening. It's just an anticipation.
Well, I have to tell you, when we first split up, he tried to say I was crazy. So my specialist said, fine. She said, you're far from crazy. She goes, you're one of my specialist was very encouraging, right? She was like, okay, like, you've gotten out, that's good. Let's just keep you from being stressed, everything like that. So she said, you're far from crazy. You're one of the most intelligent women I know. And she goes, we're sending you to a psychiatrist. Now, I have like clairvoyant things that have happened to me throughout my life, like from the time I've been little. And when I left him, I had all these really weird things happening because I'd come back into myself, right? I'd closed all that off. And so if I went to a mall, I'm empathic, and I would go to a mall and all this rush of like different energies was coming at me. And so one person walked by, they're depressed. I'm suddenly like feeling that, then I'm happy. And so I thought, well, I've got to tell the psychiatrist this. So and when I went, I thought, well, this is great. I don't have to worry about any of these problems with him anymore because he's going to book me away. Right. And I went and I told him, and I said, maybe you could like hypnotize me and that could all go away. Cause like, this is like, it's very strong right now. And he said, that's who you are. He said, I can't change that. He said, no, you're not crazy. No, you're going to have to go through this, you know, like on your way, little bird. Right. But it was also really reassuring to know that somebody, you know, well educated, they have their doctorate, everything like that, has told you, no, you're not crazy. And no, like, you know, he did this to you and you are going to make it through this, you know, and they have actually changed laws now from some of the stuff that we went through, like with my daughter going back and forth. Back then, if he got mad, he'd sometimes pick up a leather and metal ottoman and throw it, right? Not necessarily to try and hit her with it, but he's throwing it while my daughter is in his house. And I phoned and they said, there's nothing we can do unless he hits her with it. And I said, if he hits her with it, she might not get up. Like, she's 9. It's a leather and metal ottoman. Like, if that had to hit her, luckily she was quick, like she'd jump out of the way. But it's so terrifying.
It is.
Right? And then on the other hand, like, I look at it like, you know, on one part, it's like, why did I do that? Why did I send her? You know, but on the other hand, I had him, like, you know, like he would shoot me in the street if I did anything against him. So because I did joint custody with an abusive man, which the shelter said you never do joint custody with an abusive man. It was not easy. Like, I would be in a store, he'd be outside the store calling me every name in the book, like every name that you can imagine. And I'd be like, oh, I have to go. I'm wanted outside. Walk out and be like, what do you want? Like, I thought, you know, you're not going to attack me. You just want to berate me in the street. Right. And this is one of the reasons why I moved as far away as I did, so that, you know, we weren't interconnected when I was in a town or anything like that. Right. He now, he looks after his mother, and she is 93. And my daughter got married 2 years ago in the summer. She had him there. He didn't walk her, like, she got married on the beach, so he didn't walk her down. She had her daughter walk her down. And like, my boyfriend was there with me and everything like that. And I'm very cordial. Like, we still play the game. Like, you know, he feels it's all my fault. Everything that's gone bad in his life is all my fault. Okay, I will just let that be on me. You know, like, just leave it like that. Yeah. And I got to see my nephews and go over and meet their spouses and stuff like that. So then my daughter went down to his place after to see her grandmother, and they were all there and went on and on about how wonderful I was, to which he just walks out of the room, right? Because something like that would bother him, you know, and it's like, you know, we can't help you, you help yourself, right? There's no point in staying, even if it is mental illness, until they realize that they need help, and get it. And it's the same as addiction. If they're an addict and you're staying because you think you can help them, they have to do it. Like,
it's like I tell people that if, like, people when reach out for help, I'm like, listen, you're living with a victim mindset. So if you come on to buy my program and you're like, I'm going to change you, I can't do that. You have to change how you think around your situation. You're no longer a victim. You're a survivor, and you're going to survive and thrive. Yeah. And if you're not on that page, then there's no point in buying into me, because then I can't just sit here and do some magic portion from here and automatically everything is going to go away. It has to work both ways. I mean, you have to be on board, like you said. So if somebody has mental health issues, they have to accept the fact that they do, so they can get the help that is needed and required. You cannot do anything for them, and do not stress about it, because that shouldn't be on you. That should be on them. Now tell me, this whole story is with your first marriage, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then there comes
And
another one.
we're not divorced because one, he wanted me to pay for it, and so we're legally separated, and it's been 22 years.
And
Because
somebody said something. Thank you so much for saying that. Somebody said you're doing a great job, Mavish. Thank you so much for appreciating me. Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I saw that too, and you do a great job. And I'm sure, and that's what I wanted to tell you. So the other day, I turned on right when you'd got out of bed, and it was a beautiful sunny morning, and you showed us out the window, and you said, and look, I haven't even made my bed today. And I thought, and that's what it's about. Like when I first got out, I was sitting at the table and it was really quiet. And I was like, oh, I'm really bored. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. I'm not bored. It's peaceful. There's no one breaking my stuff. There's no one threatening me. You know, I can do what I want. Like, other than feeding my daughter her dinner or whatever, if I wanted to have popcorn for dinner, nobody was going to tell me that I had to have a full course meal sitting there. You know, like, yeah. Or like, you know, why is this place not clean? And see, before, that's what I was saying. When we first started going out, we went out all over the place. As soon as we got married, you know, I got home from work the one day and he's like, oh, I'm going out. And I go, okay, I'll come with you. We didn't have our daughter then, right? I said, okay, I'll come with you. He's like, oh, no. You stay. I go out. Right? Like, you know, like it just completely, like there were so many changes, like, you know, and sometimes on a weekend, like, because I always cleaned on a weekend because I worked that back then. And he'd look at his watch and go, okay, I'm going out for an hour. When I get back, this place better be spotless. Right. And it's like I'm not a spotless person. I'm like piles here and piles there. You know, you do clean up. Everybody has chores to do. But to be told, and I'd say, well, aren't you going to help me? No. You know, you're the wife. That's your role. So
how convenient.
It's so, yeah, but you're the joy of, like, and even so fresh faced when you first wake up. I thought, wow, that was her when she first woke up, and I'm going to go on her show. I want to know how the egg whites went. I didn't see the end of that.
Oh my goodness. The darkness has just started to fade away, and I just used it the second time today, so it's really working. I have a little spot here because I got laser done because I had hair. So I got laser done. So I had this burnt spot here. So it's working on there too. So I think it's really working out great for me. I saw this lady, she shared it, I don't know, on Instagram or somewhere. And I was like, I'm going to try that. And I was trying it. I was like, oh, why not just put it out there for somebody if they're interested? Because it helps with the puffiness. It definitely helps with the darkness. So it's going great for me right now.
I was born with bags. I'd just like to state that, like, even because I look back on pictures, like 4 years old, there was bags. But I always said it's because I have huge eyes, right?
Right.
So that they have to go over it. If they take the bags out, my eyes won't close.
That's so funny. My dad's like that. Since I can remember, he's had those. And he does have big eyes. And like you said, for those of you right now who are listening, who just gotten out of a toxic relationship, guys, you know what you're going to appreciate right now? You're going to appreciate getting in the morning, having your cup of coffee in peace. Oh my goodness, to be able to finish your cup of coffee is the biggest blessing in the world when you get out of a toxic relationship.
And you don't have to wander around telling the kids, shh, Daddy's in a mood, be quiet.
Yes, Daddy's sleeping or Daddy's doing this. You don't have to worry about anything. Your room can be a mess and it's going to be okay. There's nobody there to call you out. And you don't have to be spotless and all that. So if you're having anxiety around what's going on, tell yourself, wow, this is freedom. And you're just on the right path. Okay?
Yep.
So let's
and thrift stores. Thrift stores too, Miyush. Thrift stores.
Yes. Let's head on to, after all this you went through, what happened that you went into another toxic relationship? You ended up in another toxic relationship.
Okay, so the second was he, he had multiple personalities that I didn't know, and he he was an addict that I didn't know.
And how
Like, and
old
I
were
didn't.
you back then?
So I was 35.
Okay. So 2 years
Okay,
after you walked
I
out.
was 35 when I was friends.
Okay,
30,
35.
36 when we went out.
Okay.
And it was shortly, like we hadn't gone out that long when I decided that I wanted to have a child. I'd known him for a year, and
Okay.
like I did know that he did smoke a bit of pot,
Okay.
which was that was a major issue with me at that point because of my ex-husband, right? It's legal here now, but at the time it wasn't legal. So but what happened was he was a long-term addict, and they think that because of the drug use, that's where he got the multiple personalities from. He was also severely abused by his mom. His mom was an alcoholic when he was little. They had reconciled, so I did not see that, there was anything from that. But what happened was, so a year in, I get pregnant, and then he had been married before. He had 3 children with this other woman, right? Like with his wife, right? And I made it so that he could see them again because she wouldn't let, and I didn't know really, like, and he said, oh, she's just mean and won't let me see them, and all this. So I got talking to her and stuff. And then like through that, then I found out about the use, right? And it was crack. It was like serious stuff. So from there, I'm an enabler. I wanted to help, hadn't seen a lot of problems in him or anything. But as time progressed, like we would be sitting, everything would be fine. I'd get up, I'd go and make a tea in the other room. I'd come back and change on a dime, call you names, slander. You were you were a slut. You were this, you were that. And then I go like, what happened? Like I walked into the other room. Where did this come from? Right. So I got him to a psychiatrist. Right? And the psychiatrist brought him to me, gave him heavy drugs, right? And told me he was a psychopath.
Oh.
And by this point, I'd had my son. Like prior to that, sorry, I should backtrack. Prior to having my son, I was pregnant. I was 8 months pregnant, and CAS, that's our Child Protective Services, called because about his kids, that they didn't want him seeing his kids, and they were talking to him on the phone.
Okay.
He thought I'd called them, right? And started choking me. And so like it was, and there was a couple other times that like it was really quite physically abusive. And so he started choking me and saying, and CAS is on the phone and he's choking me and going, you fucking bitch, I'm going to kill you. Pardon my language. I don't know if you're allowed to swear on your thing.
Okay.
But anyway, and I thought I was going to be killed. Now she's on the phone, right? And she's going, I need to talk to her. I need to talk to her now. Like he's still got the phone here, choking me with the other hand. Right? And he was pretty strong. So, and I was quite thin then too. So like, the ratio and physically I'm not really strong because of my muscle weakness. Anyway, so he lets her talk to me and she goes, Heather, we know what he's doing right now. Is he holding you in the apartment? I said, yes. I go, yes. Hi. Oh, yes. Like this, right? Like I'm acting on the phone, like everything's fine, right? And he's going, what does she say? What does she say? Like this, right? And she goes, 911's been called. The police are on their way. Okay. So just remain calm. Do exactly what you're doing right now. Just pretend we're having a conversation, and I'm like, oh yeah. No. And like he thinks that I called. I never called you guys. Could you please explain to him that I never called you guys? Like, this is what I'm saying to her. Right.
Okay. Right.
And all of a sudden on a dime, he changed and he went, oh baby, I'm so sorry. We can make this work like this. Right. And I was like blown away. I was like, holy cow. And she is on the phone with me and she goes, Heather, I work in protective services. And she goes, I have never, ever seen somebody's personality change on a dime like this. This is really scary for you. You need to like really remain stoic right now.
Yeah.
Right. And all of a sudden he looks at me and he goes, the cops are on the way, aren't they? And he runs out the door just as they came up the other way, and he takes off. So what happened was the next morning, my water broke. So I had my baby a month premature. My son is now 18 years old. Right.
Okay.
But what happened 6 weeks after I had my baby, his mother called me and she said that, you know, he was really sorry and he wanted to see me and he wanted to be there for his child and all this. And I said, we meet at the mall, you know, and of course,
right.
I started seeing him again, which just went downhill from there. And I had my daughter who had her issues from her dad. At one point, like we went through all sorts of stuff with her, and it ended up that like I moved away. I could have got him in rehab if he had gone. It was a beautiful place, one-on-one counseling. It's all paid for by OHIP. OHIP is our government, our government medical insurance or whatever.
Okay.
So like if he had agreed to it, he could have been helped, right? But he didn't want to get help. And in the end, one morning my daughter needed a ride to school and they ended up throwing things at one another. It became very physical. She ended up beating him with a mop and kicking him out of the house. And that's how, and we never saw him.
And how long did you stay in that relationship, the second one?
So that was all round, like from being friends to the end.
Yeah, right.
Nathan was a year and a half old. I had him when I was 37, so like almost 39. So about 4 years.
4 years. Now I wanted to ask you, if you didn't mind me asking you this though, when you've already been through one setback and so much trauma of so many years, when now you reflect and look back at yourself, what understanding do you have about yourself, that why did you go through it the second time?
You really have to watch for the con man. Like his dad said, when I went over and met his parents, his dad said to me, you know, my son could sell glasses to a blind man. Right. And it is very true. It's really hard. You have to look deep within yourself. Like I had to look and think like, how and why did I end up falling for someone? But like I said, we went a year. He didn't raise his voice. There was absolutely nothing. He knew about everything I'd gone through with my ex, you know, like, and he'd even say, I can't believe he spoke to you that way. I can't believe, like, because one of his personalities was really nice, right? But I'm telling you, the other ones were pretty scary, right? So, I want to see the best in people. We come from love. We are meant to love one another. We are meant to be as one. Like, you know, I don't like to, like, and I'll tell you, when I split up with my husband, like the first relationship,
right.
My girlfriend came over and she said, you have to forgive him. And we had a rip and fight. I said to her, I'll never forgive him. Never, you know, like, and with time, I have forgiven him, right? I forgive both of them because forgiveness is for you.
You, exactly.
It takes a long time to realize that. Believe me, it does. Like you sit there, you hear people say that and it's like, yeah, right. But it really is. Forgiveness is for you. You don't have to forget, and never forget, because if it's really bad, you don't want to end up with somebody. And my sister has gone through a tumultuous relationship. She's been single for forever now because she's so afraid of herself to put that trust, right? And that's what it is trust. Now I am with Doug now, and I knew him from when I was very young, right? And he's 8 years older than me. And he's incredible because I broke my shoulders and I can't dress myself on the top anymore. Okay. You know, he dresses me every day. I can't, this left shoulder's at a joint, so I can't reach in the oven anymore, and he makes our meals. So there are some things that like physically I can do now, right?
Okay.
And sometimes we have to work together, and sometimes working together doesn't really work out. But he is wonderful. Like, he's so accommodating. Like, every little whim or one way that I decide I'm going to go, I've got a lot of different avenues that I go off on, like,
Right.
or, oh, I'm going to do this today, or like even this, it's like, okay, everybody's going to be quiet in the background because I'm going to go on a podcast. It's like, what? Like, and
Right.
and nobody was really as excited as I thought they'd be, and mostly because it's all about them. but
Right.
but
Right.
like, and I find that, like, because we were talking about it one day, and I said, it seems like the older I get, the more high maintenance I am. Like, you were talking about the little thing. Well, I got a thing. I don't know if you guys have Shoppers Drug Mart, but we have this place called Shoppers Drug Mart. I got this little thing. It's called Flawless,
Okay.
and it's an actual face epilator.
Oh.
Because I'm Scottish background, so we get like a
Okay.
lot of hair on our face,
Okay.
and I'm 55,
Okay.
so
I I get
you
you.
start to get that facial hair. Anyway, it is phenomenal, and like I was fair when I was little, so like my facial hair is fair. It's not that I have really dark hair. It's just that it's
Okay.
so much, right?
Mm.
And all those little special things to me now are just amazing to get or do. Like, it's like, oh, like, I got the galvanic spa from New Skin and everything like that, so that I can, like, sit there and iron out my face, and and these things are pricey, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
but throughout time, you'll find that, like, oh my gosh, all these amazing things have come to me. Like, my house is not the greatest. It's not exactly what I want. Doug is the one that has to do all the renos in it, because physically I can't do anything. So, it's a slow process, and it's a constant reno. Like, I was like, right now I'm sitting in a room that's got to be renovated on a stool because I just didn't want to bug them in the kitchen, and I don't really have a lot of space, right?
Okay.
It's
Right.
not the space. It's the sense of security that you have something that's yours. And it was a landlord. When I first moved up here, Nathan was a year and a half old, and I said to him, would you hold a mortgage for me? Just put yourself out there. Ask the strangers things. Ask, do you think that I could do that? Like, you never know. Somebody might be willing to
Absolutely.
help,
Yes.
right? Even like on Facebook, like, I did a Tony Robbins thing not too long ago, and some of the people couldn't afford to go to UPW, and other people stepped up to the plate and paid for it.
Oh
And
my
it's not
goodness,
cheap.
so many people paid that for so many other people. It was amazing. It was
Right,
amazing to have that
right,
energy and all that. Yeah.
right. And that's what I found. And so anyway, what ended up happening was, the landlord's wife was left a house from her aunt, and he eventually came to me. Like, it was a few years later, because I had by that point split up with the second relationship and started seeing, like, Doug and I were friends all along, all through this.
Okay. Right.
Like, from the time I split up with my husband, we'd reconnected as friends,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And I didn't know that, he liked me. liked
Okay.
me, right?
Okay.
So he watched as I went through all this crap, and then made his move. Anyway, but yeah, and like,
Okay.
we have a lot of differences, like, in like, I'm a Gen X, right? He's a boomer, so, like, he likes country. I like rap. There's some rap he likes, and there's some country I like. Like, we incorporate things, right? We do things, like, on our own, and then we do things together, right? But he always is loving and gives me my space, and he does, like, he does get mad about things, but so do I. Like, that's another thing. You've got to watch when you get out of the relationship. I don't know about you with this. When you get out of an abusive relationship, watch that you don't become that aggressive next.
Yes.
Don't you agree? Like, you find your voice, you find your anger, but don't lash out at the other people. Because you don't, like, you always look at it from their point of view. You don't want to be doing to them what you don't want done to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
100%. Yeah. And that's why it's so important. That's why I always talk about you have to heal. You have to really, that's what I tell a lot of people is that when you are healing and when you
Lost
sorry,
you.
just don't
Oh, I thought I lost
yeah,
you.
some no, something that just had low battery, so just pause for a second. So when you're healing and when you're doing that inner work and when you reflect on your story, don't put your focus on the abuser. Don't just focus on he did this to me, he did that to me. That is absolutely correct and valid. You need to validate that for yourself that you went through that, but that is just one side of doing something. The other
Yep.
side is that internal work where you have to ask yourself the uncomfortable questions is, why did I put myself through that? Why did I go through that? What led me to go through that? And then break that and understand and fill those gaps for yourself. Okay, I went through this because I was an insecure child, or my parents were like that, or this happened, or whatever the reasons are. You have to fill in those gaps and really fill in your your neediness, because it's your neediness that makes you uh, want to put yourself down and tell yourself you're not worthy, because if you don't do that then you'll be left alone. So for me, I really reach out and always say that, guys, just do not just focus on the abuser. The abuser's gone. The abuser is no longer uh, in need of your attention. You are
Don't give
in
him the
need.
power.
Don't give him the power. And when you're doing the self work, when you're doing the healing, focus on yourself. Understand why you went through it, what made you go through it. Even if it's one time, if it's two times, or whatever time it is,
Yeah.
just really reflect and see and help yourself. Like
Yeah.
she said, affirmations are so essential. You don't need a man or your daughter or your son or your grandparents or whatever to come and affirm that you are worthy. Uh,
Yep.
and what one of the things that I learned from online work that I use as a mantra for myself was, I am enough. And I tell them to a lot of people, I am enough. And I put that everywhere and I affirm that to myself. I am enough. I
Yep.
am worthy. I am lovable. I am enough. Whenever I'm having that moment where I'm feeling like, you know, I'm not worthy or whatever, I'm not feeling that confident. I just tell myself, you know what, you're worthy enough. Look at what you went through and you
Yep.
survived that. This is just a little thing.
Yep.
You'll get over it.
Yep.
So
And this
it's
is just
really,
a snippet of the things I've survived.
yes. And I really, you know what? Uh, Once I put this on, I would really want you to listen to your own story as well, because then that will reaffirm you how amazing and phenomenal and resilient
Yep.
you were to go through that and still be here standing, going through so much of pain, not once, twice, overcoming that, not labeling yourself that I have this disability and that defines my worth or
Yep.
me, and then coming forward, sharing your story over here. That is like absolutely amazing. And I really want to reach out and say, I'm so proud of you and congratulations, because this
Well,
is
I'm proud of
massive
you.
growth.
Look at what you're doing. Look at all the
Thank
people that
you.
you're helping. Like
Yes.
what you're doing is amazing. And I have to tell you, like, I don't know if it's because like I'm from Canada, we have a distorted view through news or whatever, but so I went on and you said that you were in India
Mm.
and
Pakistan. I'm from Pakistan.
oh, I'm sorry, you're in Pakistan.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So
yes.
I went on even even then
Mm.
and I saw that you said you're a single mom when you were talking
Yes,
about the morning and
yes,
just getting out of your bed and everything. And I got off and I went to Doug and I was like, holy cow, this woman is amazing. A single mom in Pakistan, like
mm,
that's incredible. Like because we have like the stories that we hear are it's very subdued for women.
mm.
So like I don't know if that's the truth or
No,
whatever,
no.
but
I mean,
the
it's not like I mean, it's become very open. Being single, being on your own. I mean, it's become really common in my part of the world. But that stigma
But
around it
doesn't
is
that
still
make a
very
lot of
strong.
anger with the men in your society?
Oh
Like,
my gosh. You see, that's what my first podcast was with Dr. Annie. And she was amazing because she's from UK and she knew a lot about my side of the world. So I went on and I said, you know what the problem is? And at that time I was really new at it and didn't know much. And I was like, men in my part of the world get away with everything. Okay, you abuse her, oh, but he's your man. He hits you, he's the man. So men can do anything and everything and get away with it because he's the man.
yeah, and
Then
this is what we've heard.
yes.
So I was
So so
like,
so Dr. Andy goes like, so that means that you probably have a lot of narcissists around you because when men or when kids are brought around that environment that they can get away with
yeah,
anything and everything and they're not held accountable for it, then what do you expect? And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true. And I
yeah,
don't even blame, like when I look at an older generation, I don't even get angry anymore, to be honest, because they were brought into the societal
yeah,
conditioning that this is
yep,
okay. So for
yep,
me, I went through that phase where it was frustrating to tell them, how can you say that? How can you say that a woman should get a slap from her husband? How can? And there was this prayer where I used to fight with them. But then when I healed, when I could see beyond myself, like you said, that don't become the abuser yourself because you've been through that. Don't carry that hate with you, right? When
yeah,
I overcome that, I had to literally come out of the box, come out of me, and really understand what was that generational trauma. So the previous generation would never understand what I'm trying to say. They're always going to be so uncomfortable because I am breaking that belief structure now. I am telling them that no way are you a
I,
man going to get up and tell me that you cannot talk to me that way, but I can talk to you. No, 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 no. I was not, my God, my religion did not put me on this earth for this. So do not manipulate me around religion or what the society or the culture says. And I've
yeah,
heard a lot. Oh, the West, because I lived 7 years in US. Let me tell you that I was for 7 years in US and I never visited my country. So I had heard, oh, the West culture has got to you, and you try to be Western here, and it's not going to work here, And I was like, hey, whoa, wait a second. Western got nothing to do with that. My
no.
religion gives me, my God gives me that. So you trying to manipulate and change the word of God to control me is not going to work for me because I'm very self-aware and I
Oh,
know my worth.
my husband, that was one of his things. Like, when he would flipping out on me, and he'd look at me and go, "Where is your God now? Is your God going to save you?" And kind of God did. Like
God did.
when I had that hug and that white light came over me, I was just like, I'm alive. What am I doing? And then from there, my conviction was, you know what, this is ending, right? But
Right.
the only thing was, I wanted him to leave the farmhouse.
Right.
And it's very important to know too, at the time, I paid the rent at our farmhouse. Like it was a rental, and I
Okay.
paid the rent. So if the checks, like where we live, if the checks are in your name and you're paying the rent, then
Mm-hmm.
legally he has to leave, which I didn't find out until later, but that's something that's very important to know. If
Okay.
if the checks are in your name and he
Okay.
kicks you out, you have
Okay.
the right to get him out because you're paying that rent.
Sorry for that. I'm so sorry. But my
That's okay.
battery is my battery is dead and I don't want the phone to just close on us like that.
Hey,
So
if
I'll
you
just
lose me, I greatly appreciate that you had me on. I think that what you're doing is marvelous. I
thank you
think it's
so
very
much.
important. There was nothing, well, I shouldn't say there was nothing. I took a public speaking program. There was an ad in the paper, and it said needed women who were abused. And it was through the United Way.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have the United Way, but we do here.
Okay.
And so they got women. They interviewed us all. And when I first went, I said to them, like, I don't know if I belong here. Like, you know, I wasn't beaten, and I don't have like police reports, and I didn't have broken bones and everything like that. And she looked at me and she goes, Heather, your story is just as important. And now it's come out that emotional abuse is sometimes even worse than physical
Right.
abuse.
Yes.
But at the time, like, you know, I was only 33. It was 22 years ago. There wasn't that much like with it, but they did a program with us. And we all sat around, like, you know, when we first met, we all sat around. One of the women was very rich, like one of the women in my group.
Okay.
And I don't see these women anymore. Like we all went in different directions and stuff.
Right.
But at the time, like we were all extremely close because we were all going through the same thing. But she was extremely rich and totally gorgeous. You would have thought she was a supermodel. She was so beautiful. And so then they got to her and she told her story. And her husband broke every bone in her body, not all at the same time, like every bone in her body had been broken. She had been so marred. She had had plastic surgery from head to toe, right? He would take her to elite parties because that was like, she wasn't allowed to work because they were very rich, right? And he'd take her to elite parties. And on the way home, she would have said something to somebody or just a glance, and he thought she was looking at somebody. He'd pull down a side road and just kill her. Like literally healing at home with broken bones, like because she wasn't allowed to go anywhere to get any help or anything like this. So, and then I'm sitting there going next, and I'm like, well, I didn't have broken bones or black eyes. And that's what he used to say to me. You don't have broken bones or black eyes. I don't abuse you. Right? And it's right. Just not true. Like I was actually thinking about before I went on with you, and they always say like sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, names hurt me a lot. And now I am a thin-skinned person. Like I am pretty sensitive, and I think I was 28 or 30 years old, and my minister came to me one day and he said, you know what, Heather? He goes, not everybody's going to like you. What? Why? Why isn't everybody going to like me? I thought I'm likable, like I'm nice, and, you know, I usually do anything for you or whatever, but it's true. Not everybody in the world, like they have their own stuff going on. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to do for you. But you know what? There's that one person out there that might. There's that one stranger out there. There's that one friend that you haven't heard from since like grade school that's suddenly going to go, hey, girl, I'm here for you. We're going to help you. Like it was 4 women that moved me into my apartment, right? And people came and they were like, so like who's with who here and everything like that. And it was like, they're my friends, right? And it was really funny because they called me the lady in 201.
Wow. Nice.
And it was like, I'm a lady? Like this is the, you know, like with all the names you've been called.
Right.
To have people call you a lady, it's like, oh, they see me as a lady. I'm so happy, you know, like. And
the little things make it.
But the other thing too, don't look at your affirmation from others.
True.
It comes from you. It's within you to affirm yourself. Okay, that's one of the problems that I had was always thinking that, like I thought I could make him happy. You can't make someone happy. You can make someone miserable. You can definitely make someone miserable, but you can't make them happy. Happiness comes from within you.
True. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where I got through most things. Like I'm a happy person within. I don't tend to, you know.
Yeah, because you heal, right?
Like I have pity parties. I have pity parties. I don't know about you, but I have a pity party. Sometimes I get up and it's like, oh, it hurts today. I don't know if I'm going to make it through, you know, and everything like that. And it's like, okay, you know what? Get on with your day. If you have that, if you are feeling that down and you don't know if you're going to make it through, I don't know, like with me, I pet my dog. Like go general. You always go general in order, like I figure you probably teach this. but go,
Yeah.
and you said it a couple minutes ago. I go general. Like, it's like, okay, get your mind off of that mindset and just go pet your dog and talk to your dog and tell your dog a story. You know, like, and if you don't have a dog, you have a cat, you have something. Like, there's something that's within you that you like to do. Like, I don't know about you, but like sometimes I've done the dishes and had a revelation. It's like, oh, well, that's gone. Good. I'm glad that's over. You know, all from just doing something, you
Yes.
know, to
That's absolutely
get your mind
get your
out of that.
mind. And like you said, it's not like, okay, we are coaches and we are psychologists or we are counselors, and we have our shit together. Nobody has their shit together, guys, trust me. The only
Yep.
difference with most of us is that for us, like for me, I would say, the old identity was that I didn't know what to do, I didn't know how to get through that stage. But now my mindset is different. When I have that day when I'm going like, oh my gosh, I'm having that anxiety, I just know what I'm going to do. I know that I can control that moment, and I know how I'm going to navigate through that. That's the only difference. People think that, oh, this person, oh my gosh, I wish we could be like that. I really need to say that again and again and again. Whoever you look up to, whether it's Tony Robbins, whether it's whoever, nobody has this shit together, guys. Okay? Everybody just wears a mask sometimes and comes online
I was
and
thinking the
carries
other day,
on.
we're all walking around with our own dysfunction. Like, cause you know, I get a lot like from my, oh, it was such a dysfunctional home. It's like almost everybody had a dysfunctional home in some
True.
way. I don't care if your parents have been married for 60 years. There's some sort of dysfunction there. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And it's the same that, like I said about the pile. My grandmother always said, if you have lemons, make lemonade. And if you have a pile of problems, if you put them with everybody else's stuff in a big pile, you're going to pick out your own problems because you don't want somebody else's problems,
True. Absolutely.
right? And um, if I can just reach to somebody and say, like, get out, like, you can do it. You know, I don't know. Now, I've heard the UK, like, because in that program that we were in with Tony Robbins, apparently the UK has really good programs for people to get out because there's a woman there we were helping. I don't know if you saw her on the site. She
yes,
might
yes, yes.
actually,
Right, 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 right.
she should
What's
actually
her
come
name?
to you.
What was her name?
I can't remember it, you know,
Yes.
but I through that, then somebody posted, listen, I'm in the UK and you can get this and you can get that. And I thought, wow, they have incredible programs. I don't know what you have where you are.
I don't think so. I don't think so. That is all true about UK, because I've had a couple of people from UK, and there was this lady. She was from UK. I don't know where she was, from Scotland, in some small town. I don't even remember. It's been like almost a year now, and she said that she didn't have that much help uh,
Yeah.
then from services.
Yeah.
She had help just from her friends. That was her support system then. So I'm not that sure.
So,
And as far as my country is concerned, oh my gosh, it just varies. The good things is and I can speak for myself too, is that our parents are a lot of support here. So we could just pack our things up and come in, even with 30, 40, 50, 60, no matter what the age is. We can come and live with our parents. There is no thing around, oh, why you're living with your parents. So for
yeah.
me, I moved back from US and I live with my parents, and that's never been an issue. But the issue has just been that how you going to manage you're a single mom, how you going to
Yeah.
live in this country you're a single mom. So I have other challenges, but you see, you have to pick your battle. See,
Yeah.
you're living with a toxic relationship, although I would not 100% say don't live in a toxic relationship, but whatever battle you're going to choose, to live there, to not live there, whatever side you pick on, then live in it. Don't complain and whine that, oh, it's so tough, oh, but this is tough, that was tough. You're just miserable. You just got to pick a side and make the best out of it. Live your life.
Okay. Well, I should tell you, when I was with my husband, I didn't tell anybody really. Like there was nobody really to tell. Nobody believed that I was going through much. Even years after, my oldest brother said, well, you know, we don't really think he was so bad. I said, yeah, and you didn't live with him. You know, when you don't live with somebody, you can see a really sunshiny side to that person. They can really come off as a wonderful person when you're not living with them,
Hmm.
right? Same as like I was saying about that woman. You
Hmm.
know, her husband was high up in business. They had a lot of money. Nobody believed her or knew that anything was going on, and she had broken bones. You know, like so.
I
It,
think one of the things is that where where we are looking for validation in others to validate our pain and our abuse and our trauma, we don't need that. We need to validate it for ourselves. We
yeah,
need we just need to know that we went through something so toxic. And like you said, when I reached out, and when I reached out and spoke with so many survivors, the thing was that you went to your friend, or you went to your cousins, or whatever, you went to your inner circle, right? And you said, you know what, this, I've been through emotional abuse. And a lot of them face rejection, like you're saying, no, but he's so nice, or she's so nice. Or the other things that I've heard is, and I've spoken about that in my post as well, is that well, we went through that. Okay, so you went through abuse, and now you're telling this person that you're basically not validating that for that person. So for me, I always tell my clients, and all the time on my page, is stop looking for validation about your abuse from others. They don't know the hell you've lived through. You
yeah,
know it. So stop asking people to validate that for yourself. That is your truth. You don't need
yeah,
people. Nobody was living with you in that. So
yeah,
you're going to come across a lot of people that are going to disappoint you, because they're not going to buy your story. And that's going to put you in a darker hole, and that's going to pull you either back towards the abuser, or towards some other kind of mental illness or something or the other. So even for myself, I really had to ask myself this question: why do I need A, B, and C to validate what I went through? Like, why? What am I going to get out of that? You know. So and like you say, people change. You know, people change. We change. We're not the same as yesterday. So stop
yep,
looking for validation in others.
yep,
Stop looking for your worth in others. You are enough. You were put on this planet complete and whole. And I heard this lady called Marissa Peer. She's from UK, and she uses this example a lot. And she said, listen, when you see a baby, right? When you see a baby, you never come across any baby ever on this planet that is going to give that why that I'm not enough or I'm not worthy, right? They always give you that why that I'm so lovable, right? And they make sure that you know that they're there, right? So she says, we were all once a baby. That means we
yep.
all once lived and believed that we were enough and we were whole. We just got sucked in the environment and the conditioning and all that thing that we're repeating again and again and again. And we lost that essence. Our essence is still there. We are enough.
You
We
know,
are worth.
it's really funny you'd say that because one of the things I did was I would get a picture of me at 1 year old and I'd look at it and I'd go, where are you? What happened to you? Why did you end up here? You know, like it sounds funny to do, but it's like look at that spark in your eyes back then. And then some days I get up and I look in the mirror and it's like, oh, look, the spark is there.
Mm.
You know, like when you see, like, you know, some people, you're not well some days and then
Mm.
your eyes, they don't shine as bright, you know, but you can actually look in the mirror and you can go like, hey, you know, I'm here and I'm doing this. Like some of the things that I've gone through, I look back and it's like, how did I do that? Like even as you were talking, I thought the one thing that I want to get across is like, I have a disability. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I have dislocation. I've got it in my shoulder. I've got it in my thumb and I've got it in my ankle. You know, and I'm walking around with the dislocated ankle because long story. They say maybe they'll do surgery on it when I'm 75. But, you know, when I look at some of the things, like even now, like I'm 55 and we have a lot of crap in the house and, you know, Doug's 8 years older than me and he's got to get like things moving. And I'm sitting in a room right now that's like piled up with crap because it's the room that's going to get renoed and it ends up being like the distribution center. We live in 1,200 square feet. So taking away one room is huge when you live in a small space, right?
Right.
And it's one of the reasons, like, I have my NLP prac, I could set up that I could do it online. But where are you doing that from? Like, we don't even have doors. Like, right behind me, there's no door on there. It's just an open, so like, my son has a door on his room. It goes through to the kitchen. But, like, really, there's a door on the bathroom. There's a door on his room in the kitchen, and that's it. Like, so you don't have a lot of space, right? I meditate every day. Like, I take time for myself, because I have an autoimmune problem, so I get really tired easily.
Okay.
And so I take a nap. Sometimes I'm in there just scrolling on my phone, like, but it's a me time, right? And like, at first it seemed really selfish. Oh, take time for myself. Like, even this, my son, I drive him back and forth to school, even though he's 18. And I said to Muish, well, I don't know if I can do that, because that's about the time that I'm going to pick him up and everything. And then finally I looked at him and I said, you know what? You can take today off, right? I'll get a hold of the teachers and I'll tell them, no, I'm doing this, because one, we could save a woman today. Today could be the day that she says, you know what? That woman there, $700, walked out the door with her 9-year-old daughter, right? Yes, I was kicked out. Like, it was what happened, the person that I hugged when I got that revelation, I went to them and told them that I love them, right? And they decided it was imperative to tell my husband. And I said, like, you tell him that, and he's going to think we had an affair. He equates love with sex. And so he would think that we had, and that's what he did. And he told everybody that would listen that I cheated on him.
Wow.
And I walked around, like, when that first, like, that's one of the reasons, like, I was hysterical when I got to my mom, and I walked around with this big scarlet A and hadn't even had the affair. Like, the psychiatrist, when I went to him, he goes, you should have just slept with them and moved on. And I was like, no, I'm not that way to do that. And it was like, and I'd been faithful and with my husband for 17 years. And we're talking, he worked late. He'd come home at 12:30, like I said, right?
Right.
And he came home one night and he just reeking of this really disgusting perfume, right? I said to him, like, oh my God, you smell. Go and take a shower. What is that? Like, I have a really sensitive nose, right? So what is that? Like, you smell. Go and take a shower, right? He goes, oh, I was really tired and I couldn't keep myself awake. So I stopped at a truck stop and I got this really cheap cologne out of the bathroom, right? And splashed it on myself to keep myself awake. I believed him. Why wouldn't I believe him? Right? When we split up, I had to go back to the house he let me come back and get a few things one day. He grabbed my arm, And I said, I have to go to the bathroom. And he grabbed my arm, and I was really, like, scared, because the shelter told me, don't go back alone. Take somebody with you. And I thought, well, I don't want to antagonize him or whatever. I'm going to do it, right? I'll be okay. All right. And he grabbed my arm and he said, like, don't you think maybe you could make it work? And he was already seeing someone. Right. It was a friend of ours' daughter. Like, she's a few years, our friends were older and she's 3 years younger than me. Anyway, grabs my arm and says, don't you think maybe we could make it work? And I said, oh, no, we don't need to go backwards. Let's move forwards, like this, eh? And he let go of my arm and he goes, it's because of her, isn't it? And I said, oh, no, lying my ass off, because it was because of her that I wasn't going back. But I went up to the bathroom and I got up and her perfume bottle was on my bathroom. Like, it was my house that I got kicked out of. It was on the counter. And I picked it up because I wondered what the perfume smelled like. And it was that perfume from years before. So it had gone on way before. I don't know how many years. I don't know. But it was like revelation, like, oh my God. And then he robbed my bank account. And the bank said he was allowed to do that because legally he was still my husband. So he was never charged or anything like that. And I mean, at first they said that maybe I was debit scammed and they were going to make me liable for the money. And it was my rent at the time, and my rent and insurance were supposed to come out. And I was like in the bank, in the opening of the bank, with everybody walking in, bawling, just bawling my eyes out. And I don't bank with that bank anymore because I thought that was so cruel. Like,
That
you know,
is.
I'd been in an abusive situation, just gotten out of it. Everything was like starting to come together, got my own apartment and everything. And then what happened was he found out he had access. And I went in every week. The bank thought I was crazy. I go, you sure he doesn't have access to my account? You sure there's no way? But there was another, they had to open up another spot to see whether he had access. And he was at the bank machine the one day and tested whether he could take out a little bit from my account, found out he could. So he took out and at the time you could take $5 from that bank. He took out $5 first, then he took 100, and then he cleaned me out and left me $8. Oh, $6 and change, sorry. Right? And he got off. They never charged him, nothing, because legally he was my husband. Same as the police. What that threatening on my answering machine, I finally called them. I said, if you can just come out. Like, it's really late at night, and I don't know if this is going to be the time that he's going to kill me. He's threatened me. I've got it on the answering machine. Just come out, please. Just talk to him. Just say, you can't leave these messages. You can't do this to her. Right? They said, oh, no, we don't come to domestic. We're not coming to a domestic on a 120 acre farm. Like, I'm nothing around me. My daughter's up in bed. And I don't know what he's like, whether that's going to be the night, right? And like I said, I have an anticipation complex. So the whole cycle of, is it going to happen this time? You don't know. You don't know. And if you don't know, and if you're at home right now and you don't know, Newish is here to help you, and I'm here to tell you it can be done.
Absolutely.
Please do. Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, yes, she I want to find out, she said that she walked out with $700. Guys, I walked out with $0. I had nothing on me. I had my two
Oh
kids
no, I had
and
nothing on me. That's all I had a month.
I had zero. I was not working. I had a son with me. I had a little baby. No, he's not a baby. He was almost 2. And I had no money on me, no cash on me, nothing in my bank. And I put my kids in the car. I threw everything of my personal belonging in that car in one go that I could grab onto. And I drove off that day, and I was crying so much that I couldn't see through while I was crying. I couldn't see the road. And I was screaming, and I was asking God, where am I supposed to go now? Where am I supposed to go? I had no sense of direction.
And look at you.
Where the car was going. And yeah, exactly. Look at me where I headed. And
how long ago was that?
This was 3 years ago.
So it's still pretty fresh for you.
No, like that.
No, I mean you've made great strides in 3 years. So if they can see that, it doesn't have to be a slow progression. Look at how quick it can go.
It was rapid because I think it was my calling, because I was left all alone, and it was just me and God in that conversation where I really had to dig in deep and find the answers within myself instead of seeking validation from others. So I think that's where I found myself. And one of the things I struggled with was that why doesn't anybody believe me? Why do people keep on coming telling me that you also are wrong? You must be wrong somewhere. You must be wrong. It was never about me not being wrong. Of course, I'm human. I've made tons of mistakes in that marriage. But that was not my story. My story was that I was left feeling worthless and rejected over and over again. And I didn't get validation from my loved ones to tell me that I was enough and I didn't need a man to complete me. And God told me, no, sweetheart, nobody's going to validate that for you. You're going to struggle, and it got worse before it got better. And I'm so grateful to God for that journey. And I'll just share one bit of story, and then we'll wrap it on that, because I think it's been really long. Is that my friend, she reached out to me. And she said, Mehwish, if you had a chance to go back and change your life, what would you change? And I didn't even think. And I said, I'll change nothing. And she's like, are you crazy? Why would you?
Because of the kids.
You could go back, marry another man, live happily ever. And I said, you know what? If it was the old me, I would have loved to have a happily ever after. And if I didn't go through what I went through and not have my awakening, that would have been what I would ask for. But what I went through truly was God's plan. Because where I am today, I would have never been there if it wasn't for God. So I would never change the story. I'll never change the journey. Where I stand right now, I'm truly grateful. And where I'm heading towards, I am so grateful. Because you see, right now I'm here, I'm at this platform. This is my passion. This is my life. I don't think so. If I didn't go through the hell I went through, I would have that compassion for women
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
way.
Exactly.
I think I would have been the same toxic person. Like my
Yep.
society had that conditioning around me that, men can get away with everything and everybody goes through that. And, I would have learned to believe and live with that. So to have
Yep.
my awakening, to have my calling, and for God to choose me to step out and have the courage to step out, I would never want to change that. I am so grateful for that. So guys, whatever hell you're going through, uh, just don't give up on yourself and believe in yourself. And remember, it gets worse before it gets better. But reach out for help. There's tons of help. When I reached out, I was amazed at the response I got from Instagram. And people believed me. People who didn't know me, could not see my face. I did not show my face for a very long time. Believed my story. They validated it for me. So sometimes strangers can do so much for you. So on that note, we will wrap up. Thank you so much for giving
Thank
so
you
much
so much.
valuable time to us, sharing your story, and what a courageous woman you are. If I could hug you, I would have, but virtual hugs from me to you. What message you want to give? What message you want to give to the audience, and then we'll close it on that.
What message do I want to give? What?
To the audience, anybody who's
Oh, to
listening
the
right now,
audience?
something.
Just exactly what we've been saying. Like, her story leaving in the car exactly resonates with me. It's like, yeah, there were so many tears. And like I said, when I walked into my mom's, there was tears. And I loaded up. I had a little Mercury. I loaded up that car with everything I could possibly get out as quick as possible, and was so grateful that I was able to take my daughter with me.
Yes.
I know it's not going to be easy. Like, we're not saying, it's going to be peaches and cream. There's going to be a limo pull up, but also don't think that there's going to be a knight in shining armor. I had a Cinderella complex for years, thinking like, God's going to send someone and they're going to save me. Right.
Yes.
And he does work in mysterious ways, and they're kind of somebody that, like, what is the catalyst, but they're not going to save you. Like, he never spoke to me again, by the way, after he told my husband that I was in love with him. And I still have a lot of love for him in my heart, because I do love people, and I do think we come from good. And I think you have to look at the good, and then look at the good in yourself. That's what I want to tell you. Look at the good in yourself. We see it, and we want you safe, right? And Muish is there for you. Reach out to her. She can help. That's what her whole premise is now, is to help people and empower them. That's what I want to say. Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely.
Thank you so much. It was phenomenal. I enjoyed every bit of it. Take care of yourself. Lots of love to your son, and thank you to your husband for all the patience, and your boyfriend. Take care. I hope you all enjoyed, and we both were able to add value to you. We were able to help you in some way or the other, guys. Take care of yourself. Remember, reaching out for help does not make you weak. It makes you courageous. On that note, we both are leaving. Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.